Hi, I'm Greg from Punk Rock Night. Every Saturday night at the Melody Inn and then some. And Thursdays we do the PRN livecast. I am here again tonight with a traveling band all the way from Dayton, Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the Raging Nathans. Please introduce yourself, gang.
Hello, I'm Joshua motherfucking Benjamin Goldman.
I'm Christian.
I'm Patrick Cost. Hello.
He had to think about that.
We have your guitarist over there.
Oh, yes, this is Brian Saunders. He's played 2 shows with us, and he's doing an excellent job because Nick Hoomby couldn't come along for this one.
Nick, who makes the songs really good?
Nick who?
Well, yeah, your guitarist did an excellent job tonight, I must say. So hats off. Well done. Well played. And I just have to ask a question from afar. Are you actually looking at your guitar, or are you looking off to the side? Because it doesn't look like you're looking at your guitar when you're playing. You just kind of fucking know what you're doing. I mean, what's going on there?
Just looking.
You're just okay. Well, it's a cool form. So, but anyways, the Raging Nathans played with us a couple times, and coming from Dayton, Ohio, with great bands like Toxic Reasons come from there. Give Ups, I could go on. I mean, what are some notable bands from Dayton that you guys know?
The Ohio Players.
All right.
Brainiac?
Roger and Zap.
Zap and Roger, yeah.
Not familiar.
Guided by Voices.
Oh, GBV, yep.
The Breeders.
Oh, right. God, yeah. I saw them. I saw the Breeders after they hit. So, how long have you guys been a band now?
The Raging Nathans started in 2009. Didn't do a whole lot for a couple years, but we did start. Yeah, we did start in 2009. So it's been a really long time.
Have you been playing any festivals?
Yes. So we've played. We're on our way down to the Gainesville Fest.
Oh, right on.
Which we play regularly. And then we were really fortunate enough 2 years ago to play some big fests in Europe, like Punk Rock Holiday and Brack Rock. And, we've actually gotten...
So you've actually toured Europe?
Yes, several times.
And so what do you think of the touring in Europe compared to the United States?
I think Europe socially has many things right. I would love it better if they had ice and air conditioning. That's a spoiled American view. But no, right. In all honesty, European people, and particularly we do well in the UK, but Europe as a whole, you can tell that the culture of punk rock is, and music in general, they treat bands like how every once in a while you go on the road in the States and someone treats you really well and they take care of you and you never forget it. That's how kind of all of Europe is. They feed you, they care about how you feel and how they take care of you. So Europe is usually a lot of fun to
they'll bathe you, they'll clothe you.
Did you play at any squats?
Yes.
All right. Yep. Which seems to be a typical thing to do. And did you spend the night in any bars?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's just, a European thing, man.
They fucking left us in a bar and they're like,
they lock you in.
They're like, okay, see you guys later. We're like this alcohol is all for, like, can we?
Like, don't drink too much.
Yeah. No, we had a great time.
Yeah, it's amazing how they treat you. I went to we were playing I was touring with a band, but we played this village literally in the middle of Italy, like nowhere Italy, and you could see from one end of the village down to the other end of the village down the street, and I'm thinking, there must be like 200 people that live here in this village. I mean, are all of them coming to the show? I mean, how does this even work? Because it was a place probably about twice the size of the Melody that you played tonight. And sure enough, man, that night, man, the place was just packed. And I'm talking to people and I'm like, I mean, you live in this village, and they're like, no, I've traveled like 50 kilometers to come here. I mean, it's just, these people and we stayed there that night, that's all built in. I mean, amazing stuff.
So I have some very, very particular things about Italy that I think are really interesting. So we played also in a village like that, and like nothing open till like 4 o'clock. Everyone was like hungry, like what the fuck is going on? But
yeah,
we went to we drove like 20 miles away to a mall, right? So we could get something to eat,
right?
And we went in. We were there for 20 minutes, and our van the window got smashed out, and they stole me and the other guy's book bag, which had our passports in it.
Oh, fuck.
So I had like an insane time trying to get back to the United States. But at the end of the day, I was like, well, like you guys don't fucking want me here anyway. Like, how hard is it going to be to get home? But Italy also, at a squat in Genoa that we played, I played there twice. Now there was like a building out back, and I was like, I had to take a shit, dude, And they're like, oh, go in that building. So I go in there, and there's just like it's just a hole in the ground,
right?
And there are these like 2 little ceramic things for your feet, like you're like a starting lot for like a track runner. So like I'm like, well, how am I not gonna shit on my own pants? So I like take all my clothes off. I'm like you just shit in this hole in the ground, and like people are looking in the window making fun of me. I take a shit, and I come out, and they're like, hey man, guess what? There's a fucking toilet over there. Oh. Yeah, they thought it was really funny, but. They still fed us at the squat.
Well, I mean, these squats would occupy whole blocks in some cases that, we went to. And I remember particularly in Turin, we decided to go for a walk, and some sketchy dudes were kind of like scoping us out and started following us. And I was like, dude, we got to get back to the boys. And so we got around the corner and back into the compound, and then they saw we were with like a group of like 15 people, and so at that point, they they were just like no, and they turned around and like walked out because in these are like fenced in like compounds, like in former industrial places or something. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time in Europe. So, I mean, now, what's going on with the music? You working on any new releases now?
So yes, over March 15th of 2020, the bars in Ohio shut, the restaurants and bars, they shut down. So I've got kids. I had this like weird decision to make, like whether, I continue working or do I take unemployment? Right. And because of the uncertainty of what was going to happen, I took unemployment, and it turned into 14 months. So I stayed home with my kids. And in that time period, the Raging Nathans wrote 3 records, man.
Get out.
We did. And so we put out one, we put out another one like 9 months later. That's like physically out. And then we have a third one that like we're just sitting on because we're like, okay, well, we got these songs, like maybe don't just put out a third record in like 2 years. Like, let's see what we can do with it. But we put out a split with the Dwarves in the meantime. We put out a split with like the Reagan.
That's beautiful, man. The Dwarves that played the Mel, man.
It was dude,
really?
Fucking
insane.
A dream. You know what it was? And it was like one of those things where I woke up one morning, I'm like, who could we do a split with? And I thought of them, and I thought that maybe they would do it. And I reached out to Todd from Recessed Records, and he goes, well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to forward your email to Blag from the Dwarves. I forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I got an email back, and he said, yeah, let's do it.
Fuck yeah, man.
Like sometimes it sticks, like, and then,
well, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Sonic Iguana, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Mass was down for the copyrights last night, and that was a killer show. Yeah, he came out to the show, and I was just like, yo, I totally know, your studio and your work, and really appreciate what you've done. Because Lafayette, Indiana, I mean, is basically known for Sonic Iguana Studios up there, and done a lot of stuff, a lot of work with the Queers. I mean, you've been on tour with the Queers.
Yes, for many years.
Yep.
I actually heard that Mass is like I met him a couple of times. Very nice man. But I heard he's like a translator for like the FBI or something. I don't know if that's true, but I think that's his job.
Yeah, well, we punk rock doesn't really pay the bills, so whatever works.
You find a lot of smart, interesting people in punk rock.
Yeah, you really do.
Probably shouldn't narc that dude's job out.
Yeah, well,
I don't work for the FBI, so I'm not the narc. Sorry.
And he's just translating, so I mean, that's what he said, man.
Who gives a fuck what I think anyway?
Agreed.
So we have a lot of stuff. We actually put out so many split 7-inches from 2017 to 2020 that we currently at the plant we have a second singles collection that's coming out called Failures in Art, Sordid Youth, Volume 2.
Well, cool. Well, man, you're definitely in it to win it because, you've put out a number of wonderful releases and I've been mainly listening to you online, but, I know I got one thing and then, you blessed me with the discography tonight. But with digital nowadays, it's just so much easier to listen to. But the thing I love is that you were actively pressing and putting out vinyl, and I came back around after losing my record collection years ago to a neglect. That the albums are really works of art, and to be able to hold that again and realize that, and I love to see that people are still doing vinyl, and with new bands nowadays, they will ask me, how should we release our stuff, and I would say digitally and vinyl. And it's nice to see that vinyl sales are now outpacing CD sales finally. And there's places here in town that just specialize, like Indie Scene and Vinyl, that like just specialize. They're mainly just vinyl because that's what's selling, because people just want to have an easy medium to listen to, and they're going to listen to on this, but they're going to be purchasing vinyl because this is like having the band physically in your hand.
That's the huge thing, right? It's like for me personally, I'm about to be 35. I wasn't around when, I remember CDs and all that shit. But like for me, my first experience with music was with vinyl. As I get older, what I've come to realize when I wanted to start a record label was like, look, vinyl is something that's very permanent. So you put it and it's in these metal plates, these stampers, and then they fucking make wax out of it.
It's amazing.
Your music is literally in these grooves. I still don't understand it. It blows my mind. But what I understand is that it's permanent. It's a hard business to be in. But what I think is like, vinyl right now is it's hard to get. So people are getting quotes for like a year. Like you put out a record and they're like, oh yeah, you'll get it to you 2023 or whatever. And I've been working with the same people so long. I'm fortunate to not have to wait that long.
Right.
But it's a hard to run a record label or to be a band. It's a hard business to be in.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you wait months and months for a product.
Right.
You sell it. You make all your money in like 1 or 2 weeks. And then it's like you hope that it sells.
And then you're just dragging it around, the rest of the time. And, I've seen bands get creative and start selling, flash drives and shit like that. Mm-hmm. But I just think.
Have you ever bought a flash drive?
I have.
Oh. Well.
I have that.
I have not.
Just a record. Just having like the physical copy of something. This is naturally not your record, but it's just there's nothing like it. And what they can do with vinyl nowadays, like this is on a pressed purple.
Yeah.
There, and just wonderful stuff. And everybody has download cards with the albums and everything. And
it's hard to be in a band that wants to release a record, because if you have someone who's willing to put it out, or if you have the gumption, or like I guess like a ability to put it out yourself, you're just going to be waiting a really long time. And so it's easy to get impatient, and not do things the way that like the most people can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you put out your record a year before the vinyl comes out, I hate to tell you, it's going to be harder to sell your record than, and you think,
because people have already been through it and it's nothing new.
Yeah. And they don't, it's like, it's hard to get people to care twice.
Right. It's hard to get them to care once, let alone twice.
Especially in this genre,
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel you because, some nights, it's just, thankfully, ever since COVID, we've been really doing much better. I think that maybe that thrill is starting to wear off a little bit. But boy, when, COVID first, broke, we'd have to limit the crowd a little bit more. But boy, it was like nice, like, oh, well, every night's been sold out, for 6 months. But
my record label did more business in that 16 months than it ever had before. I mean, like,
right.
It was, and plus I had 8 hours or 10 hours a day to spend doing nothing but the label.
Well, give everybody the name of your record company because I don't think you mentioned it.
I'm sorry. I run Rad Girlfriend Records. Rad Girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Rad Girlfriend.
We've gotten fortunate, man, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just one guy, dude. I'm just like,
well, we all just make it up as we go along. I booked a couple of bands 21 plus years ago, and it's turned into this. Can I sure, you hit me.
Profess something to you?
Sure.
Dude, what you do with the Melody Inn and Punk Rock Night, it's like being able to tour. I've been fortunate enough to tour in bands and play all these shows and like meet certain people, but like the first time I played the Melody Inn for Punk Rock Night, and then the second and the third time, like meeting someone like you and Rich, like it means so much to me because I'm younger than you, but I've designed my life to be able to play punk rock music.
Yeah.
It's a really thing that's like, I don't think is very prevalent anymore, but the people that I relate to and the bands that we play with and my best friends, these are people that like, okay, you may own a restaurant, but why do you own a restaurant? It's not to own a restaurant. It's because like you
love it.
Well, you want to play punk rock music. And so that allows you to go on tour or like whatever.
It gives you that flexibility.
And the lifers, man, are just like, it's such a rare thing. I looked at the people who were at the show tonight and I'm just so grateful for you guys because I always see what you're doing. You're always putting on punk bands. You're doing your podcast and you love punk rock music. And that just, it means so much to me, man. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate it because, we're naturally our focus is pushing punk rock, but the whole podcast came around because when COVID hit, I call it a podcast, but it's actually a live stream, but whatever the kids are calling it. We started because of COVID because I thought, oh my God, this is the end. We're not gonna bounce back from this. We're barely making it as it is. What are we gonna do? Luckily, we formed into a nonprofit, and the IRS sent us a letter just before COVID hit. And originally we were going to use the nonprofit to try to put together a festival. But since then, we've transitioned into more of a charitable organization in that, we use it to help out bands, help support shows. When bands get like ripped off or something like that, we'll, kick them money or, one dude had a heart attack and pretty much died on stage and had to be resuscitated. And, we raised money for him and raised money for the bar to help them survive through COVID. And so it is just turned, it's funny how like things can grow organically like that. And as you go through punk rock, the people that you meet through the punk rock scene are some of the best people and some of the most intelligent people I've ever talked to in my life. And so this has always been, my focus and passion, because everybody that I've met, asterisk, is very clever, and there's there's a force driving this that we're pushing against the system. And you see all of these social causes nowadays, and it's like I can point you to 10 songs that speak to that already. And I've been listening to this for years now. And so it's just the inspiration that this big, like we saw without MF Order. Some people get very offended by that band, but at the same time, if you have a sense of humor and know about social causes, you get it. You get what they're saying. They're not saying, go shoot up a school or something. They're just saying how fucking ridiculous this is, that's absurdity that we have created in society. And I think this is what punk rock speaks to.
That was fantastic. And that really made me feel like I was at a punk rock show. It's like, because clearly thought goes into that.
Obviously.
It's like, that's the whole thing, man. It's always like punk rock has been a thought captivating thing, and it's supposed to make you think, and there is the element of I don't give a fuck, but dude, everyone I know who's involved in this is I don't know any idiot punk rocker. I mean, yeah, okay,
yeah, asterisk. All right,
but the ones that make good music and write good lyrics, even if it's that band that we saw where he's rubbing a cheese grater against his head. Dude, right. I mean, and this is not this is not something that I guess is a lot of people may agree with, but in this time, right, it was just sensitive and it should be. I think that progress.
I mean, we're not putting up with bullshit anymore,
and nor should we. But when you look at character, and this is me personally, when I look at characters like Gigi Allen, when you look at characters like Morrissey, or you look at characters just these crazy people that you don't really agree with what they're doing, but they don't give a fuck what you think,
right?
And what I think is that and what I saw about this band tonight was that you don't have to agree with them, but if you get rid of these characters, right, the world becomes a very boring place. Love them, hate them, fucking whatever. But if you don't have some guy that's just batshit fucking crazy, or just a truly unique individual, I think the world right now is lacking a lot of those people. And in music specifically, it's I'm not subscribing to you're not PC or you are PC. It has nothing to do with that. It's just these are people that didn't give a fuck what you think. And there's a little bit to be said about that, whether you agree with it or not. It's just if you get rid of those people, what happens,
Right. The first time I had moved out from Bloomington, Indiana to Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, because and eventually got a job in Boston for a little while, but I go out to Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, and it's all it was during, Appetite for Destruction had just come out. And so everybody was wearing the spandex and fucking Appetite for Destruction shirts. And for some reason, all the girls out there had big white hair and long white fingernails at this time. And so it was kind of an unusual atmosphere, but so here I am in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, don't know anybody. And there's this fucked up dude in McDonald's that is in sunglasses and smashing ketchup packages. It's spraying people around him. And he's with this hot girl. And I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? And so, and then they leave or get asked to leave. And, they're walking down the street, and I watch them walk down the street, and I'm just like, well, that was a interesting experience. So I go, I've been traveling into Boston to try to find a job and such. And I go by Newbury Comics, which is punk.com. They used to be like a center force for selling punk records. And nowadays they have like I have more records here than Newbury Comics even sells in punk. But I'm flipping through and there's this guy on the fucking cover of an album. It's G.G. Allen. And so next time I go to a show down at the Channel in Boston, and there's him handing out flyers, and I'm like, you're that guy from McDonald's in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. I saw you get kicked out of the McDonald's up there. And, and I just start talking to him because I'm just, for some reason, just radiate towards these people that are just like so unusual, and actually developed a rapport with him. Never actually saw G.G. Allen perform himself because the show would always get shut down.
When
or
you spoke to him, he was.
Oh, he was like a totally like anybody. Yeah, like you and I are talking now. I mean, he is like totally like cool and like a straight up guy, not like a complete nutbag. And it's interesting because you find these like complete introverts out there, and then you get them on a stage and they get out of their mind, like, and you're like, where does this come from?
Yeah,
that's like the Joey Ramone thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it follows the Ramones, because I think one of the greatness of the Ramones is that here are a bunch of geeky guys, especially Joey Ramone, a fucking just a geeky guy, but what a voice. And when he got together with those, it was just a romance, and it inspired and started so many things. Punk Rock Night is a direct result of the Ramones.
What's your favorite Ramones record? Do you have one?
Yes, Pleasant Dreams.
Mine too. Absolutely.
Right the fuck on. See, She's a Sensation, top number one song for me.
It's got 9 to 5 on it.
Yep.
Dude, that record is
not my place in the 9 to 5 world.
I don't know why I like that record so much. And there's plenty that I love.
Well, the reason that I like the record so much is because that was my first concert.
During that era? Or
no, the Pleasant Dreams tour.
Oh, yeah.
Was my first concert. And
I noticed your back patch is Pleasant Dreams.
You got it. I had to get some Ukrainian woman to put this together or at least a patch for me.
I love that because it's not everyone's favorite.
It's my by far favorite. I have a romance. I am in love. I worship the ground that they walk on. I know you have a second go-to favorite. What would your second one be? I'm just so curious. Because probably Rocket to Russia would be at number 2. But I mean, beyond that, there's hit and misses, and I mean, especially later in the Ramones' career, you're not going to knock them all out of the park, people. So if you're judging it from that, but I mean, if you're judging from where they started, I mean, aces.
Yeah.
Aces.
Well, yeah. I mean, you put out
in Rock and Roll High School, Roger Corman, he was a fucking genius to get those guys onto film. And, Joey Ramone talking to PJ Souls, I mean, ain't nothing better. And it's kind of a joke, but you gotta get the joke, man. And I mean, it's not. And to say it's a joke is diminishing the importance of the work, but it is a joke because we're all fucking geeks. We're all like misfits. And here's Joey Ramone, one of the biggest misfits of all, being like this godlike status, and it gives us all hope, if you will.
I'm such a fan of the Ramones that I honestly think that bands shouldn't cover the Ramones. Maybe live, that's fine, but don't record.
I completely disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I completely disagree.
I think that no one
like the Rob Zombie.
It's just no
cover
one
of Blitzkrieg Rob.
It doesn't matter.
No one can ever do it as good as them.
Here's the thing about the covers. I have this weakness or sickness for punk covers, and I don't care what it is. I mean, Britney Spears, whatever. I love punk covers of any fucking song
because somebody cares enough about punk rock to do it.
No, because they turn it into their own thing. And so when, I mean, like there's a band from Loud Pedal from Ohio. Joey Yates, who works with like the Mathematics and a couple bands, but he's in this band. I can't remember the rest of the guys off the top of my head, but they do a Ramones cover band that is spot on. They're actually playing on the 30th someplace over in your neck of the woods. But I mean, they are fucking spot on. I mean, even JJ Pearson, who I don't know if you guys met tonight, from Toxic Reasons. I mean, he was there for that show, and he was like, those guys are incredible.
I think live is great, but like, you remember all the Queers, Screeching Weasel, the Vindictives, Mr. T Experience, Parasite, they all did those the Queers cover records. And like, admittedly, they were all like, well, we were going on tour and we needed something to sell. And like, dude, none of those records, I love all those bands. I'm not saying anything. It's just like, none of those songs were near as good as the Ramones. Like, I would never put on fucking, the Parasites cover record. I was like, I want to listen to the Ramones, man.
Well, they're and I agree with you on that front, but there is one exception to that, and Dee Dee Ramone put out an album where he's basically covering the song that he wrote, All Quiet on the Eastern Front, and the Western Front, Eastern Front, decline of Western civilization. I don't know.
He wrote all the good ones.
But that song, I think, exceeded the Ramones, and it reminds me of something else that I don't even know if I should put that on the air. I'll save that story for off the air, but some interesting Ramones stories. I was consistently going to the Joey Ramone birthday parties and everything, and have seen the Ramones a number of times. I would just go crazy for them. But and you're not what I would consider a Ramones core band at all.
No.
I think that,
you are no. Well, but it has. You have to say that it has turned into a genre.
It is, but funny enough, I talk about this all the time, is that the Ramones core genre, that doesn't sound to me like anything what the Ramones sound like. It's a particular style of music.
Exactly.
It doesn't actually sound like the Ramones.
Right.
So I said that was weird. And actually, I had this conversation with somebody who was like, well, what's the best Ramones core band? And I thought about it for a minute, and all I could think of was like the Marked Men. Like, people want to talk about, like, all these bands that rip off the
We booked them.
Screeching Weasel. But if you want to talk about someone who actually, like, does, like, I don't know. Maybe.
A lot of it's drum styling.
Right.
For Ramones.
Well, and to speak to the drum styling, everybody's always wearing the Tommy shirts, but I mean, Marky is the Ramones drummer. I mean, in my opinion, Marky is the fucking drummer, because he carried the torch. I mean, naturally Richie did over 500 shows with them, but it was an excellent contribution. But I mean, when it came down to it, Marky was the fucking man.
Yeah, Richie's the only guy that wrote songs, though. He wrote those 2 songs for the Ramones.
Oh yeah. I mean, other than Dee Dee and Joey, but yeah, and to read, I have a whole library of books on the Ramones. To see that and to see the strife that band went through, I mean, what the fuck else are they going to do? What is Joey going to be selling? Would you like fries with that?
You know, I got some really interesting insights on the Ramones from my years that I had toured with the Queers, because Joe was close with them, and like Slug was one of those songs that, like, remember what they wrote together, or if like Joey, it was like towards the end, but but in Long Island, we played a show and CJ Ramone came out, and I met the man, and Joe was like, hey, CJ's going to play. I was playing bass. He goes, CJ's going to play some songs with us. I took off my bass.
Right.
And I gave it to CJ Ramone, and he was a very nice man. And at the end of the show, he goes, I was 26. He goes, he's like, you don't have strap locks? And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. And I said to Joe, I said, dude, CJ Ramone just told me that like I need to get strap locks. And Joe goes, yeah, well, when Joe tells you need strap locks, you got to get them. A very nice guy. And Richie Ramone was the same way. We actually played the songs that he wrote at the Echoplex in LA. This shit's like blows my mind, man. I'm fucking in the 20s, and I'm like, I played a show with fucking one of the Ramones, and I'm just like so grateful for punk, dude. I was in Las Vegas when Joey Ramone died. I'll never forget it. I don't know, man. That's the Ramones.
You realize that we've actually played together.
Our bands.
Yeah.
The last time that we played at the Melody Inn.
Yep. Well, I'm more of a, my band Vodka and Milo is more of a rock and roll band, but
great band, by the way.
Was that your last show? Do I remember something like that?
I think that was our last show for a while. You know, we've had deaths and tragedies in the band, and so we're not officially broken up, and we think we're going to maybe do it again someday, but could be wishful thinking at this point.
Man, you should come to my bar.
We ain't fucking touring. I can barely get these boys in the fucking rehearsal. Right?
I'll pick you up. It's 2 hours away.
Pick us up. All right, I'll let Tom and our drummer know. We need a bass player. Hey, you're a good player. So
I joined a few bands.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, fun show, man, and I was so appreciative that we are masters of playing first, and we were told that night that you're going on second, and I'm like, was second? I mean, how am I going to deal with playing second, because we always play first and then have the rest of the night to while away, and
Vodka de Milo. That was it, right?
Yeah, Vodka de Milo. Yeah, it was the band. And so, yeah, more of a rock and roll thing, but, fun,
That was was that with the Darts? Was that show?
Yeah, I think that was at the Darts. Yeah.
Dude, that show was fucking awesome.
The Darts are doing great too. They lost their drummer, but then got another drummer, and then they lost somebody else. So I don't know. I try to keep up with them, but they still check in from time to time, and I hope that they come back. We've had a couple of big winners this year with the Bobby Lees. I don't know if you're familiar with them from Woodstock, New York, but they got onto a tour with Helmet that was subsequently canceled. And then also Radkey was a band that we've had in a few times that there's now was touring with the Foo Fighters. So, I mean, I love to see that when bands step off and really start to take off, because we had the social and hearing wherewithal to, get them on fucking stage and fucking promote that band, here in town. So
it's always great to see bands do bands that just play regular shows start to do well,
We got the Queers coming in here in a couple months. You probably saw it on the flyers there, and it'll be nice to have them. And it was funny for a minute there. They were playing 3 or 4 times a year, and it got to be kind of a joke, that they were in so often. But now we haven't seen them years. So that this show will hit big.
I think we're playing a couple shows with them in December, actually.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it'll be nice because Joe opened a lot of doors for me, man. Personally.
Good.
Great.
It must have been a great influence for you.
And an amazing experience.
I had joked with you earlier tonight that I would joke with some of the band members like, oh, you haven't played with the Queers yet, because Joe's gone through a lot of members and a lot of people have toured with him, but it's just funny because I've known so many people that have toured with Joe Queer, and they all said it was a great experience.
You gotta know, you just gotta take Joe at face value, dude.
He's got to be managed.
He calls me on my kid's birthday. Like, that's what kind of guy Joe is,
He remembers everybody.
And he would never, ever, ever turn away a fan.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I respect about Joe, is that there's lots of these guys that are in famous bands or fat wreck bands or whatever. They look down on their fans, man. That bothers them. They're very cool. And what I respect, regardless of what you think about Joe Queer, the fact of the matter is that he will stay after the show.
Oh, yeah.
He will sign your autograph. He will take a picture with you. He will be kind to you, and it doesn't. And that there's something to be said about that, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways that bands interact with their fans, and or actively solicit fans out of the audience, which I'm a big advocate of. But I'm missing my point here, and I'm starting to slip.
It's an important thing not to be a fucking asshole.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. And to embrace the people that have carried you this far in this.
Your records.
Exactly.
Joan Jett stays after every one of her shows, signs every autograph. Dickie Barrett, My Boss Homes, stays after, signs everyone's autograph.
Right.
Look, man, you can be like, oh, you're punishing me. I don't want you to leave right after the show, but who do you think's fucking buying your records?
Well, and I do, and my original point was, I do understand that, like right after a show, guys, give me fucking 5 minutes to fucking cool down here, because there'll be people that'll be fucking talking to you while you're like offloading your fucking drums, and it's like, you got to give me a minute here just to fucking gather my stuff. And, occasionally I'll pull people.
It takes like him 7 hours to load his drums up. I feel like
conversations today. Thank you very much.
Nobody wants to hear your fucking life story in the first 5 minutes they meet you, but at the same time, how you deal with that is it tells me what kind of person that you are,
Well, you develop a finesse.
Or you don't.
Or you don't, and you're just a fucking asshole. Yeah. And people still love you anyways.
You have like an asshole finesse, don't you?
Asshole finesse.
Well, right on, man. We have, good God, we've run 42 minutes.
That's fantastic. I would love I would love to go through your record collection.
There's a ton of shit. So feel free to take a look at everything.
Before you stop, there was one thing that you said about punk rockers, and I wanted to touch on it real quick. Is like every person that I know who's a punk rocker, their house is fucking way cooler than anyone else's. They have records and art and fucking cool shit everywhere, and it just goes along with it, man. Punk rockers are the fucking cool. They're the coolest, man. It
inspires creativity.
It wasn't always peaches and cream.
That's from the Ramones documentary. I cut that like little section out where Joey Ramone's like, wasn't always peaches and cream. So, but it's great to have you guys in. I know this ran long. Probably going to be its own cast that I'll just put out there. I try to sum it up in 5 minutes, but obviously we had a lot to talk about. 44 minutes
about the Ramones. We talked about the motherfucking Ramones.
Well, yeah. I mean, how could you not? But yeah, you have a wonderful man. Very much respect everything you're doing. The record label, everything. And this is how you create your own DIY punk life, and this is how we do it. I got my thing where I do well, now I'm on the back end of PRN, but PRN and with your record label, you musicians, and it's just as it has been said, it takes a village to, keep the shit going. And it's great to have you in. And Dayton is a great place. Has always been a fucking center force always been a force in music.
Have us back, man.
Yeah. We'll absolutely have you fucking back and back and back until you start touring with the Foo Fighters or something.
Hey, look, real quick, before you go, the Foo Fighters, you take the Foo, you got Pat Smear.
Yeah.
The germs. You have the Shiflet from No Use for a Name.
Dude.
You got fucking Dave Grohl was in Scream. You got the bass player who was in Christ on a Crutch.
I love how you refer to Dave Grohl, who was in Scream.
and
Nirvana. Cool.
These are 5 punk rockers, dude.
Seriously.
The biggest rock stars, right, in the world.
It is so good. And Dave, I think, just does it right.
Yeah.
I just think for his level of fame, he really contributes a lot to back to the scene.
Old punk rocker, man.
Yep.
They just said that he was almost a drummer in Guar, that he had successfully auditioned.
Yeah, dude. I did hear that.
And they yeah, we never really told anybody, but then he moved to Seattle immediately afterwards.
Did you, because I had seen Guar a few times. In fact, the first time I saw him, I wasn't even there for Guar. I was there for another band, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Good God. They started off decapitating some child, and then they just went from there, and I was just like, oh my God.
That's Christian's favorite band.
Yeah, well, do you know Mobile Death Camp?
Yeah.
Todd Evans?
From Toledo.
Yeah. See? Yep.
Met him a few times.
He actually just played last week here.
Did he?
Yeah, Mobile Death Camp came through last week, but they are actually getting back together with Lazy America. He's going to get back to the original lineup of Lazy America with a 4-piece.
That's a great band.
Great band, and so we're gonna have them. We're gonna have them in.
He used to play with another Dayton band. Legbone used to tour with Lazy American Workers.
Legbone, another great. Are they from Dayton too?
Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, for sure.
God damn, man, they've been. And they're still playing, huh?
They'll play shows. They put out a record. Actually, they put out a split with the Give Ups 3 years ago. Or something like that.
Oh man, I need to look that up. It's hard to keep up.
And then before that, they were Liquid Legbone.
That was back in the day.
Those records are cool too.
Yeah, man. We booked Legbone multiple times, and certainly Todd's various bands, and seen him play with Guar, and seen him play with Lazy American Workers, and lately, Mobile Death Camp is the big thing. But yeah, we're gonna have him in to do the original Lazy American Workers here at.
Fucking awesome.
They were so funny. They were the first band I booked, along with DV, who's playing next weekend. I got their bass player flew in from Seattle, and they're getting together, and they're gonna fucking do it one more time. So next weekend, aside from the sloppy second show that's happening beforehand, then we move off to the Melody to do the night show. So it's gonna be a long day.
Is Danny playing with them?
Danny's not playing with them now anymore. But that's been a minute. But Danny is still around, and we've booked Danny and his MIDI projects a few times.
I think we played with him once.
Yeah, Danny came to Blind Bob's in Dayton. I think he said it was one of his first out of town shows in many, many, many years.
Oh, right on. Yeah. What was he playing with? Do you know the configuration? Was it a 3-piece?
Three-piece, and he played guitar. There was a bassist and a drummer.
Right on.
Solo? I saw him at the Melody Inn where he played solo by himself.
He had a band when he played above.
Mm-hmm.
He had just put out a record or an album.
There's a few configurations of the band, so it's kind of hard to nail down which one. And
was that Den Glanzig?
Oh, there's Dan Glenzig.
Dan Glenzig. That's what I saw.
Dude, that was great stuff. I mean, when he was doing that band, I loved that. But he has a few other things. So, but yeah, so a plethora of shows coming up, and I want to get you guys on another one here coming up, and so we will line it up. And right now we have just had since COVID, the bands have just been thirsty. Everybody's thirsty, and so everybody's been wanting a gig. And normally with Punk Rock Night, we try this show design where all the bands kind of fit with what like if you're doing like psychobilly, then they're all psychobilly bands. Everybody has like a stand-up bass and shit like that. And now we're getting like undeniable bands that want to play all on the same night. And last week, it would have been a better I think it would have been a better show if it was designed show, but there were all these undeniable heavy hitters that wanted to play and don't give a fuck about money, want to play. And how can we just sit there and say no to any of that? I mean, aside from the bands that have established guarantees and we go on, but so that show can be a little bit more difficult to sell to the locals when there's no local support. And but now that we've established pretty much a scene here in Indianapolis, we have that built-in audience. So as long as it happens on a Saturday night, we're usually can make our nut.
Doing okay. Should I play there with Battalion of Saints and the Nobodies?
Right?
Yeah. That was,
fuck yeah, dude.
Fucking play with a guy like that, dude,
Oh, yeah, man. Great stuff.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Wonderful stuff. All right. Well, I am going to, we're at 51. I'm just going to probably put this out as a separate cast, but thank you guys so very much. I mean, I really appreciate your night. Well done. Cheers. Cheers to you, Greg, if you're back there somewhere.
Greg Cup.
Can't see you behind the lights, but
Greg has a really great
who is that over there? Is that Jerica? Of course. She
Hey,
just shows up.
Can I tell you something Greg did?
Sure.
Didn't he went to Walmart?
No, don't
Why not?
Don't say it.
Not-
I feel like you shouldn't say it.
Not Greg. Didn't go to Walmart and did not fucking tag a cop car.
There you go.
Can you edit that out?
No, wait.
Yeah, well, we can always cut off the end.
What are they gonna
So, but hey, yeah, I think we had some good conversation here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And we look forward to your next visit to Punk Rock Night here in Indianapolis.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, sir.